Sometimes the next chapter of leadership isn't about leaving something behind. It's about carrying what you've learned into a new space. Dominique Johnson didn't walk away from leadership. She expanded it. And today she's helping others build legacy, confidence, and wealth one property at a time. Welcome to Beyond the Pattern, Life and Leadership Unlocked. I'm your host, Bukalo Gantala, keynote speaker, HR strategist, and leadership coach with over 20 years of experience supporting leaders through growth and transition. I'm also a first-generation Nigerian American. My name, Bukala, means added to the greatness in Yoruba, and this podcast is one way I live that out. We're living in a time of constant acceleration. AI, automation, and performance culture push us to go faster and do more. But speed isn't the same as wisdom, and going fast doesn't mean we're moving forward. That's why I created this space to reclaim the human side of leadership. If you want to stay connected, be sure to follow the show and hit subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you won't miss any episode when it drops every other week. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been following since day one, I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Welcome to Beyond the Pattern, Life and Leadership Unlocked, the show where we explore the habits, stories, and quiet beliefs that shape how we lead and live. I'm your host, Bukalo Gantala, and this podcast isn't just about change. It's about recognizing the invisible patterns that influence our decisions and learning how to move through them with intention. Today's conversation is a perfect example of that. My guest is someone who took the tools from her early career, discipline, precision, and structure, and use them to build something brand new without discarding what came before. She represents what this show is all about, growth that honors your foundation while creating something powerful for the future. Dominique Johnson is the principal and managing partner of the Kindred Firm, an Atlanta-based business focused on helping everyday people build wealth through multifamily real estate. She spent over a decade working as an aircraft mechanic in the military, mastering systems, problem solving, and structure, before making a strategic and inspiring pivot into real estate. Today, she not only supports first-time investors in buying income-generating properties, she also serves as chair of the Black EXP Network's Atlanta chapter. That's where she leads initiatives that empower agents to grow purpose-driven businesses. Dominique, welcome to Beyond the Pattern. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
Okay, good. Now, Dominique, I did my best to represent your background in the bio, but as you heard it, was there anything that I got wrong or that you?
No, that was awesome. I'm going to take that and start
Okay.
using that.
I'm just gonna clap for myself. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, a lot of the guests I really respect. They bring leadership from a different perspective, so many different diverse perspectives. So I want to make sure I do it justice. So I appreciate that. And especially, you know, hearing that today you're going to come from a military perspective, but then you've also worked outside of the military as well. So I'm really looking forward to diving deep into that. Before we get into it, tell the audience how to get a hold of you. If they want to connect with you, what are some ways they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be found on Instagram at Dominique.tkf or at The Kindred Realtor. Those are my two Instagram pages. I don't know if I should give my number. But
It's up to you.
yeah, I can also be reached at 404-482-1385 directly. Any agents looking for a brokerage without limits, without borders, EXP Network. Again, I'm the chair for our Black EXP Network here in Atlanta. Or if there's anybody interested in real estate, if I could assist in any way, definitely hit me up.
All right, nice. Thank you, Dominique. So now, Dominique, I'm curious, when I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I want you to be on my podcast, what was your first reaction to that?
Of course, I'd love to. I mean, I think the message, the self-awareness, the reflection, and the bridge between, self-awareness and business ethics and corporate leadership, I thought it was a powerful topic. And so it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. And did it surprise you that like randomly that this is something I'm doing?
No.
Okay. Cool.
No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, okay. Leo to Leo.
Okay, Leo to Leo, right, Leo in the building. Right. Okay, cool. Well, let's start with what grounds you. Can you take us back to the early days? Like what kind of leader were you in your first career? I guess I'll let you define where you consider your first career, because I know you were in the military, then you worked in other companies, and now you're working on your own. So can you take us back to the early days? What kind of leader were you in your first career?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first career was in the military. I was an aircraft mechanic for about 7 years on the public side, and then about 4 or 5 more years on the private sector. But, in the military, they do train you to be a leader. They, want everyone to kind of step into those roles through different, opportunities available. But I can't say that in that experience, I was cultivated into any leadership. It actually, for me, felt pretty repressive. I think just, oftentimes I was the only woman. Also, sometimes I was the only Black person in a lot of the crews that I was with. What I learned from that experience, just one, being in the military, that leadership is about control and conformity. And I kind of rejected that throughout my experience within the military. Yeah.
Got
But
it.
that was one of my early on career experiences in leadership was when you're in the professional setting, you have to conform and there are protocols that are in place and you have to, those are controlled environments that you have to align with.
Got it. Got it. And how did the military even get on your radar?
Well, my grandfather and my father were both military men. So even before my career experience in leadership, I also had similar experiences just in our household about what leadership could look like. Yeah, like many people, I would imagine, I, was persuaded or by the idea of, free college and travel. Didn't
Mm.
have a lot of options or opportunities coming out of high school and, almost went to the Marines, which I'm grateful I didn't. I mean, shout out to the Marines, but ended up in the Air Force. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And what patterns or habits, values, mindsets were already forming in those early years? Maybe before you became a mechanic, or even, as you talked about, well, let me back up. So you talked about how you started to see early on that some of the values that were being emphasized in leadership in the military didn't line up with yours, right?
Mhm.
So can you speak more about what was forming around like your values personally at the same time while you're bumping up against this military
Yeah.
experience?
Great question. So I will say that within the military and my early personal life, I had always been the outlier. I think in the military, it was just more emphasized. I can't say that I actually knew what was on the other side. What was the other side of authoritative leadership? What was the other side of control? But I did know that that didn't feel aligned to me.
Got it. Got it. How long were you there?
I was in the military for about 7 years.
7 years. Okay. When I was thinking of that tension that you described between how leadership was being
Yeah.
represented and then it not lining up with your values,
Mhm.
for some people, that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, how did you navigate that and stay for 7 years?
I think for me, I enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed being a mechanic, and I thought that the opportunities were available across the board. So it was a tense environment. However, I'm a competitive person. So I wanted to figure it out. It was something that I tried to excel at. So I did. I was top of the PT training. I was physically, in terms of our run times and those types of requirements. I excelled there. I often, had achievements in setting the plane out faster or turning a particular plane in a short amount of time. So I guess in that experience, what I was learning was that my leadership was leading from the front through my actions. But what I was being shown was that wasn't the politics of the military. The military was more so, again, about the conformity, which may not actually be about the performance. It's more so about how do you align with the good old boy system is all I can call it,
Okay, okay.
if you don't fit that dynamic, if you aren't conforming to that narrative, then the other stuff doesn't really matter.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. No, thank you for that. A lot of people think of pivots as leaving something behind, but yours, when you've described your career, yours feels more like a transfer of leadership into a new space.
Mhm.
Like you just, kind of pivoted and transferred your leadership and how you approach leading yourself and your life to a totally different space. What led you to real estate? And what was the moment you knew it was more than just a side hustle?
Interesting. Well, by that time, I was not in the military full time. I was actually on the private side of aviation. So I was traveling, taking contracts in different places from Dubai to Chicago to Minnesota, Florida, all over the place. And I kind of felt the same culture on the corporate side as I felt in the public side, right? And you could probably speak to that as well, like a culture of conformity, authority. This is how it's always been done. This is how we're doing it. And I felt that there was a ceiling there. So I started to look into ways to get out of aviation, just ways to kind of retire or maybe do something different. And it led me to real estate. And I didn't intend to just jump into full time. I actually wanted to just be an investor passively, build my portfolio, and then transition out. But God had other plans. I was laid off after purchasing my first property and tried to find other aviation opportunities and couldn't find them, which was, kind of weird at the time. And so I took the risk and went full time into real estate. So it wasn't a decision that I made directly to go all in and pivot in that way. But the more that I learned about real estate, the more that I could see that there were more opportunities for me to lead authentically, to lead my life authentically, and to, do something more meaningful that wasn't as labor intensive as aviation was.
Got it. Got it. What's interesting is I think you're the first person I've heard really explain their experience of corporate matching their experience of the military. I think for many of us in corporate, when we come across folks that have worked in the military, especially sometimes, they'll talk about, needing help with onboarding, needing help adjusting to the corporate setting. And so it's interesting to hear that you saw some similarities. You actually saw some similarities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I know, not all companies are the same, but I think that's the first time I heard that reference. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for touching on that. I want to get back to your real estate career because, there fear around changing directions like that. And I mean, you mentioned you'd gotten laid off and you bought your first property and got laid off. And so was there fear around changing directions or did something in you just click? Like, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there's always fear. I think something that I've always had about me from early adult years is the courage to figure it out, the courage to be the outlier. My experiences in the military are similar to my experiences in my early adulthood, just as young Black queer person carving a path for myself. So I've always kind of been the outlier and been outside of the box. So I say that to say that there is fear in that level of co-creating with life. However, for me, I find it more suffocating to try to keep things the same and try to deny what is being laid out for me.
Got it.
And to answer your question, I tried. I tried to be a roller coaster mechanic. I tried to be an auto mechanic, and all the doors closed.
Oh, wow.
So I had to double down on what was in front of me.
Got it. I mean, that's really powerful. It said like so what I've heard you say is that being queer as a younger person already prepared you to not to be this outlier, to be outlier, an independent thinker, kind of is that fair to say?
No, absolutely. That I'm also the second oldest daughter. So leadership came early for me. It was four of us, so I led the household at different times, and then coming out as queer, was also a way that I was leading my life authentically. For me, that experience paired with navigating the military and my identity kind of built me up to be able to lead myself in the world in a way that just allowed me to create space for myself and create space for other people. So, when you ask me how I was able to coexist in the military, how I came out of that, from hitting that wall, I think for me, it's just about, or it has been about knowing that expansion is very important. And that's the opposite of control. And when you're able to create a space that feels open, then possibilities are abundant. And when you share that with other people, then I find that I'm supported in that. And I don't know, I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping it corporate and not too woo-woo, but my form of leadership is just that, going from a space of force to more of a space of allowing And I'm figuring out the balance in that.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Was there a shift in your mindset, or were you kind of late, like locked in to who you were all along?
No, I feel like I'm actively peeling back that onion, right? Or peeling back the layers of, what I was told who was told I was, right? That was a part of being in the military. You become the property of the government, right? So that conformity and the authority over your life, right? Like even being in the military, you can't travel to certain places. Like they tell you when and where you can travel. So I've not always been this person. I've found that a change in my environment, the change in direction of my life has given me more space to find more of myself. And that's been a mindset that I've been cultivating over the years. It had taken me a while to fully commit, but at some point you get far enough away from shore where you rather keep going and turn back around.
Got it. There's a mindset shift, I would imagine, that you also had to have in real estate, right? It's one thing to help people that are interested in investing in real estate, but I would imagine you've had to start with getting your mindset right around real estate and how investing looks for you personally, you know? So, is there anything you can share about as you moved into real estate? What were some mindset shifts that you had
Mm.
to lean into in
Mhm.
order to be effective guiding, people to do the
Yeah.
same thing? Yeah.
I love that question. One of the most impactful mindset shifts that I've had over the course of my years in real estate and serving others was just that, was to serve others and not force their decisions, not try to control the outcome. It's really being able to listen to what they're sharing with me, what their goals are, and putting together a solution that makes sense for them and not what I feel like is best for them. So I think, going from being a mechanic where I'm working on a fixed object to being a front facing entrepreneur working with people, one of the shifts that I really had to make was to lead more from my heart space and not my mind, and kind of maybe even building the bridge, because this is a huge decision for a lot of people. This is the biggest investment that they'll make in their entire lives, most often, in most cases. So their capacity is not my capacity. Their resources are not my resources. Their fears are not my fears. And it's really been a journey of my heart expanding to be able to support them and guiding them to take that step, take those risks, and actually pull the trigger, on things that align with their goals in a way that's supportive to them and not just what I think is best for them, what I think is the best deal, what's the best investment, or what makes the most sense. So that's a shift that I've made that I've seen a lot of impact with my clients and my partners and my community.
Got it. So, really more of serving
Mhm.
and listening. That's what I heard. And then trying to think, buying a house is one thing, but you're in multifamily.
Yeah.
So these are multiple houses, these are
Yeah.
multiple units.
Yeah.
So there's also, I would imagine, even just greater responsibility that comes with. I would imagine
Yeah.
it's greater responsibility. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I got into being a realtor, it was important to me not to just be the person who was selling granite countertops. I didn't want to be pointing at the fixtures and, getting people excited about being in a nice property. I wanted people to understand the value of the property and how it makes sense for them financially above all else. And a part of that, what I've learned, even in my time in aviation, was that people want to generate income. People, need affordability. Affordable housing is a significant thing. So I'm really proud that I'm able to encourage and empower people to not only be a part of the solution of being private landlords and creating more affordable housing opportunities or housing opportunities in general, but take advantage or be a generational wealth creator and, take on being a landlord, because I tell everybody this is a business, right? Like your purchase is just the beginning. And I've really been able to tap into, empowering people to take that risk. And it's been pretty successful thus far.
Got it. Got it. No, thank you. Now, what money or confidence patterns do you often see holding people back from building wealth? And even if you have a personal experience about how you worked through money or confidence patterns to be able to help other people, that's helpful too.
Money or confidence patterns.
What
Yeah.
money or confidence patterns do you often see holding people back from building wealth?
So the money thing that's holding people back, and this also impacts confidence, specifically in my community and the people that I serve. we do not have the resources to make a mistake, right? We don't have the liquidity or the rich uncle who's going to gift us 50,000 and, whether it goes, north or south, my lights are still on, I can still eat. A lot of the people I work with, this is their life savings. And so that's a money pattern that I think is generational, that I think is cultural. I'm not exactly sure, but I do know that requires a lot of sensitivity and a lot of, conversations. I do Zoom calls, I'm going over numbers, and I have the capacity for that work because I know how important it is, because I have the same money and confidence patterns as well. I've made a $20,000 mistake and it has taken me 20 months, to be able to recoup from that, which may not be the same for other people. So I think that's really it. I think the access to capital has, been a part of what, impacts people's confidence to make some of these decisions and choices.
You talked about how you really lean into understanding the numbers on an investment beyond what's pretty granite countertops and stuff like that. And you work with all types of investors, first-time investors, experienced investors, right? So what do you teach them to help them shift those patterns? Is it the numbers piece, or
Yeah. So I give my clients something to look at, right? Getting into real estate, again, I came from a more analytical approach. I had developer partners. I've been in the syndication space. I worked on billion-dollar aircraft. So, I just looked at real estate a little bit differently early on. So I pursued those interests. Like I went straight into, wanting to understand projections and performas and waterfalls and that side of it. And the value is that I am able to bring that to a first-time home buyer and show them, hey, your property taxes are going to increase. This is what this looks like over the course of 10 years. Or, hey, if you put a tenant in here and we see that the rent projections are 3%, this is what it's going to look like over the course of 10 years. Now, this is a pro forma, right? This is also dependent on your operations and what you can do as a business and a business owner and operator. But when I give this information to a first-time homeowner, I'm not just saying, this is your mortgage, this is your house, be well, good luck. I'm saying this is a business. This could give you equity. This could give you cash flow. This could give you tax savings. And this is what this looks like on a spreadsheet. And yeah, that's just one of the tools that I use. And that really allows them to see the picture beyond just, yeah, you should own a home. It's like, why? Why should I own a home? Why does this benefit me? How does this help me? A lot of my clients, I say, hey, if you're paying $1,500 or more in rent, let me show you how you can save money. Let me show you how a multifamily property can actually, be less than that, and how you can actually purchase it with less than you actually think you need. And then how can we make sure that this is a solid investment and not a money pit, And so I'm supportive to a lot of my clients even after the purchase, because their success is important to me. So I think I answered that. Did I answer that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did. And it made me think about, I know personally, I've definitely become passionate about real estate as well, especially on the multifamily side. Definitely, it's like you do have to check your mindset, because I'm scared money don't make money. People, I learned that in the real estate space. And it was like, yeah, as soon as they said it, I'm like, you know what, that makes sense. At some point you have to decide what you're going to commit to choose. And kind of like you, that means you don't have guarantees. Sometimes there are costly lessons, but it's an opportunity to lean in and learn, especially the numbers, to make sure that you're able to make a more calculated risk, the next
Absolutely.
time. So yeah.
Yeah. And just to go back to your confidence question, I think that's another pattern too. If we're just talking about one, the access to capital, but then on the other side, the access to this information. So a lot of my clients, we're first time investors, first generation investors. So we don't even know that risk is just a part of it, like in how you asked me about how I lead my life and the fear that I have. I mean, I've recognized that risk is just a part of it. And, that's how we actually create a life that, can generate value, or create a business that can continue to generate value if we're taking those risks.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask how old you were when you bought your first property?
I think it was 28.
28. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting. I've crossed paths with folks that are like really, really early 20s. And it's like, wow. I mean, I don't know that was even on my radar.
Right.
But also growing up in the Northeast, price points are very different.
Right.
Very different. And so, it's a different conversation, which is a good thing,
Absolutely.
But yeah. So in your work, you're not just representing yourself, you're showing people what's possible as chair of the Black, is it EXP?
Yeah, Black EXP Network.
Okay. So, as chair of the Black EXP Network's Atlanta chapter, how are you creating room for others to grow and lead?
Oh, that's a great question.
All
Well,
my questions are actually pretty great. So,
yeah. Yeah, they are actually.
I'm just, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, so as an organization, well, we're in Atlanta, right? So Atlanta, I like to say Atlanta's full of Beyoncés. Everybody who business owner, entrepreneur, everybody wants to be, Beyonce, if not at least Michelle, right?
Right,
A lot of people don't sign up to be a business owner and want to be a backup dancer, right? They
right.
go all in, which is a great thing. So one of the things that we really do here is highlight our agents. A lot of our agents are already doing great things, hosting awesome events. So the main pillars of our organization, because EXP is a cloud-based brokerage, there's no brick and mortar, but we are large in numbers. We're the largest brokerage in the globe right now. So here in Atlanta, we just want to bring our agents together, let them know that we're here in numbers. We are supporting each other. We can do community empowerment events. We can do networking events. We can do community service events. We can do education events. But how we support our agents and give them opportunities to lead is to, really highlight what the work that they're already doing. And then also extend leadership opportunities, whether that's at, the events that we host in different ways.
Okay. Okay. Tell us more about how that leadership role has changed you.
Yeah, I think out of our committee of about 15, I'm probably the youngest
Mm.
and I'm the chair. And coming from military aviation and being in real estate, I've really had to recognize that there is another form of leadership that's not forced, that's not authoritative or dictating. And I found that when I create space for others, when I lead from the front and I'm able to support the people around me. Like a lot of this stuff isn't my ideas. I'm just the person who's going to knock down the door to get it done, to support my team and being able to execute. And so I think that's something that really changed for me over the past 24 months is, being able to create the platform to let others shine, create the stage to let others, shine. And for that, I do feel that not only is it fulfilling to me, and it's the same with my clients, like I said, their success is my success. But yeah, I feel like a servant leader. I've really been able to step into my servant leadership and it's really fulfilling for me.
Wow. No, that's awesome to hear. Is there anything when you think about your entire career up until now as a leader, is there anything that you've had to unlearn to be more effective?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So one main thing was execution. I'm really great at executing. However, that doesn't really create space for other people to show up. So it's not really delegating. It is about delegating and trusting and, and then also being okay with what's produced, right? Not being a perfectionist, like actually it should have been this way, you could have did this. And then the other side of executing is when things are actually falling apart, maybe it is a redirection. Maybe it actually needs to fall apart. So again, it just, for me, it comes back to the energy of forcing things and kind of understanding when I should step in and guide towards the solution rather than, I don't want to say manipulate, but definitely, just more so just
Okay.
forcing the outcome. Yeah.
Okay. Facilitate, maybe?
Facilitate. That's yeah, facilitating the outcome.
Forcing the outcome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. No, that's helpful. And what do you do as a leader to keep your skills fresh and to watch, like to prevent blind spots? It's like very easy to get blind spots as a leader. You talk
Yeah.
about getting caught up in the execution. It's very easy to do. I know I even can do that.
Yeah.
How do you kind of keep your skills fresh and watch the blind spots? Yeah.
I asked for help. And this again goes back to creating a platform for others to shine, right? Like even if it's not a dire urgent need, I'm getting better at just asking, soundboarding with people and, taking in their suggestions, their advice. I have various coaches and mentors, that I reach out to. Yeah, that's how I keep myself grounded and I guess making sure that I'm not hitting the wall. And, if I'm hitting the wall, yeah, I'm asking for help. I ask for help.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. And let's see, what's one pattern you've chosen to keep because it continues to serve you as a leader today?
My skill of being someone who executes is something that I'm proud of. And this is why I'm often encouraged to step into leadership positions and leadership roles. However, again, it's about the balance and the facilitating and not the forcing and the control.
Yeah.
So I am proud of my ability to execute, and I still kind of maybe overstep sometimes,
Mhm.
but I'm coachable. I work for my team. So
Got it. All right, Dominique, this has been great. You really provided a lot of nuggets, a lot of nuggets. First, it's just so awesome hearing you come from a military perspective, a queer perspective, even, as, someone who's had to lead people twice their age, that perspective as well. Really just appreciate you being so open. I want to do something a little more fun now. I'm going to shift a little bit because I know I've been asking you all these hardcore questions. We're going to do a little lightning round that I call pattern check.
okay.
And really, the thing is, just say the first thing that comes to mind. You don't have to overthink. There's no right or wrong.
All right.
And once you make the choice between the two words I give you, I help the audience understand why you picked it. So the first two words are structure or flexibility. Which one is more like you? Structure or flexibility, and why?
Flexibility, because I'm an artist at heart, and I think that innovation comes from being open to change and nuance.
Got it. Teach or do?
Do.
Okay.
I think that you learn more from doing, and others can learn from you by watching you do or participating in.
So role modeling. Morning hustle or late night grind?
Neither. Morning hustle or late night grind. I'm probably a late night grind person. I'm examining hustle culture right now. Yeah, as a recovering workaholic and someone who has to manage burnout, I think late night grind feels more in alignment. Yeah.
Yeah. Save or invest?
Invest.
I
Yeah.
guess that was the obvious one.
Yeah.
Follow the blueprint or build your own?
Build your own. I think that that's why we're here. I feel like we're all superheroes. And that's, again, about being open and flexible in leadership is you don't know what superheroes that you have around you if you don't create opportunities for others to shine.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. So, Dominique, thank you so much for your honesty, your leadership, and your voice. You are the embodiment of what it means to grow beyond the pattern with intention, with courage, and with community in mind. For folks listening who want to learn more or connect with you, I know you touched on it at the beginning. Tell the audience how to get a hold of you if they want to connect with you. What are some ways they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I can be found at dominique.tkf on Instagram or my sales page, which is the Kendrick Realtor. And again, if you're an agent looking for a brokerage home or someone interested in real estate, you can reach me at 404-482-1385.
All right. All right. So that's it for today's episode. Whether you're navigating your next step in your career, building something from the ground up, or simply curious about what's possible, let this be a reminder that leadership isn't linear and the patterns we've inherited aren't the only ones available to us. This is Beyond the Pattern, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week. If this episode resonated, I'd love to hear from you. You can text or leave a voicemail at 404-828-0279. That's 404-828-0279. Or you can visit me at bucalaogantala.com to send in a question, share your story, or explore coaching and speaking services. Whether you're leading a team or learning to lead yourself, I'm honored to be on this journey with you. And if you haven't already, hit follow or subscribe so we can keep growing together.